Hello, I'm Elizabeth Krishock, and I am a junior at Oakcrest School, which is in Vienna, Virginia. And I am very excited to be here to open up today. So I wanted to tell you guys a couple stories about my journey to becoming an engineer. So ever since I was little, my parents have been really supportive of my want to do engineering, and they noticed that I had science and math tendencies ever since I was little. One of the things that my mom has told me is that she saw me reading every single information poster on the way to the top of the Empire State Building when we went to New York when I was little. And hearing things like that and getting to see things about myself has shown me that I really wanted to be an engineer. And some other people that have really showed me that are some of my amazing science and math teachers, one of them being my personal mentor who helped me with a really big project that I did for my Girl Scout Gold Award by making a women in STEM video talking about how it's important for there to be female role models. And one of the other people is my amazing AP chemistry teacher, who she has really pushed me towards doing something pertaining to chemical engineering because she noticed that I have a passion for chemistry and that it's something I'm really good at and I can do really well if I try really hard. And one of the things that I've learned through all of these wonderful role models and the things that they have shown me is that it is really important for girls to have an ability to do hands-on activities. Like, I was recently in my chemistry class, we were doing this one experiment, and one of the students put a little bit too much of the acid, and then the whole thing popped in her face. And something like that, having the ability to be there and having a tangible thing in front of you was so important, because we would have missed hearing those sounds or smelling the overuse of acid in the middle of our lab. And she was so excited because she figured out, hey, this is an exothermic reaction. I didn't even know that's what was going on, but she was so proud that she had made a mistake and it helped her learn something new. So I really want to show that that's important to girls to have the ability. And I really wanted to help show that there's a place for girls to engineer a better world. And today I'm going to be introducing Congressman Dan Lipinski.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and welcome everyone here today. I am very happy to once again sponsor this event for Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day, also known as Girl Day. The actual day is next Thursday, the 21st, but hopefully Congress is not going to be in session next week, as long as there's no shutdown. We won't be here, so that's why we're doing this today. I'm going to be, actually on Girl Day next week, I'm going to be speaking at Lyons Township High School to a GEMS club, Girls in Engineering, Math, and Science. You know, question, so why do I do this? First of all, I'm an engineer. I have a BS in Mechanical Engineering from Northwestern and an MS in Engineering Economic Systems from Stanford. Every year, I introduce a resolution celebrating Engineers Week and the goals of Engineers Week and celebrating engineers. But the question, so why are engineers important? Engineers are important because engineering is problem solving. And there are a lot of problems in our nation and in the world that need to be solved. I just came from a science committee hearing on climate change. That's one of the big problems that needs to be solved. And what it's going to take is a lot of work to figure out how we're going to transform to a clean energy economy. And that's going to take a lot of engineers figuring out how to do this. And if we're going to be able to solve these problems, we need to bring everybody in. we can't leave any engineers, potential engineers out. And that's why Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day is so important. We need to encourage girls to take a look at engineering, understand that they can be engineers, and give them the support that they need. I know there are more women in engineering today than there were when I was in school, more years ago than I like to think about. But we need to get more in because we need to solve these problems. And that's why I'm happy to be here, happy to sponsor the room here for this event every year. Great to have our panel here, everyone who is here. Thank the audience for being here. And the next person who is going to come up on stage is someone who you may know from Fox 5 DC. You probably have seen her on TV. She's Holly Morris. What you may not know is that she is also an engineer, has her degree from Duke, which actually is another alma mater of mine. I got my PhD at Duke. She has her degree in civil and environmental engineering from Duke. And another example of what, amazing things that engineers can do. So Holly's going to moderate the panel here. Come up here, Holly. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Glad you finally introduced that Duke degree. I was going to bring that up. Had a big comeback win last night. That was pretty impressive. 23 points, right? So first of all, I want to say, you guys know it's Galentine's Day today, right? Right? That's when we celebrate all the wonderful, strong relationships we have with other women. And that is really important to all of you, to cultivate those relationships, identify those other women in your life that will not only just support you, but challenge you along the way. They're going to help you get to where you want to be. And even if it wasn't Galentine's Day, it's Women Crush Wednesday, and I got a crush on every smart girl that is in this room right now. You guys look pretty good too, but we're focusing on the women today, right? So like Congressman Lipinski said, I do the news for a living. I anchor the early morning news. Yes, I got up at 2 a.m. this morning. I've been up for a long time. But that's okay. That means I am ready to go. It's like my nighttime, and I'm ready to be here for you all. And I co-host a show called Good Day DC. And while I work in the news, my education is in engineering. And that's really important for you all to understand, because just like when I was your age, guess what? I loved math. And I loved science, and I loved figuring out how things work and why they work and how I could make them better. And so when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do when I went to college, I talked to a lot of different people. And you know what they said? A couple very important people said to me, Holly, go to school and get an education, and then be anything you want to be. And there's no better education you can get than that of an engineering education. All the time people ask me, how does an engineer get into news? Engineers solve problems. I can build you a dam or a bridge, handle toxic waste. I can do all that too. But there's a lot of other problems I can help solve because I've learned the process of solving a problem. And that's what an engineering degree does. It teaches you to take in massive amounts of information and process it. It teaches you how to work in teams, to find out what your strengths are and what others are so that you can all work together to come to the best solution. We need girls in engineering, not because they're as good as boys, but because we're different from boys and we see things differently. And so maybe we come at a problem from a different angle, and that's okay, because you know what? We might come up with the best solution then, or at least the part of a solution that will help make the overall solution better. And that's why it's so important for girls to go into engineering and to become women that are working in engineering, or even if you're not working in engineering like me, you are contributing to society and solving problems in the way that you can, and you're using your analytical brain to do so. And that's why it's so important. That's why I would never pass up any event for me to come and talk to young women who are interested in this field. Because the thing is, you don't even know what your possibilities are. with an engineering degree. That's what's so great about it. And so we have 3 amazing women up here today that are going to be a part of our panel and talk about their paths in engineering. And I want you guys to be thinking about your questions and what you want to ask them. And again, look, you are engaging with mentors and people that can help you in your process. Every time you get an opportunity like this, take advantage of it, because you never know when you just might get that one nugget that really sends you on your way. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce you to first. This is Silvana Lovato. She is a Hevel Civil Estimator for the proposal team at Bechtel's Infrastructural Global Business Unit. That sounds very important, right? She sounds uber smart, and I have no doubt that she is. And we're going to talk to her in a second. We have Lauren Ware, who is a junior at La Plata High School, has been interested in engineering ever since when she came out of the womb. She was interested in engineering. And then we have Catherine McLean there on the end. She's a senior at Northeastern University, majoring in computer science and cyber operations. And she's a senior, and guess what? She's already got a job. Impressive, right? Okay, so Silvana, let's go ahead and start with you and just kind of tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, so my story, I always say that I came to engineering in a different way than most people. I actually, when I immigrated from Peru to here, I was 16 and I started college right away, but I decided in 2006 to join the military. That was the first thing that I did. I was there for about 18 months. As a medical lab technician, serving and actually in Walter Reed when Walter Reed was still in DC. Then I came back home to Miami and I pursued economics first. And I liked math, I liked the statistical part of economics, I also liked finance. And I graduated, I worked for a few years in the government, but then I decided that all this knowledge of economics, I wanted to narrow it down to one specific sector. And I've always loved construction from when I was growing up. I was the one helping my dad, trying to fix up stuff around the house and building, playing with Legos and things like that. So, and my brother is also a civil engineer, so I decided to do my second career in civil engineering. I went through a bachelor's degree in University of Maryland, and I was thankful and very lucky to be a part of Bechtel right after I graduated. So that's been my career. I've been there for about 3 years and a half now.
How hard or easy was it to transfer from the military to civil engineering?
So from the military, I was a medical lab technician, so it was in the medical field. It was, for me, the thing that I learned the most in military was the discipline. Mm-hmm. and the teamwork that you have, with your buddies as you work in the military. And I think that really that played a role when I was as an engineering student, because a lot of the things that we do, it works in teams. You also have to have be self-dependent, but also be able to work and collaborate with other people, and the discipline to just go through those classes, which like they will tell you. But it's just a discipline to continue learning and to continue doing your homework and things like that.
So a funny story on that. So I was, this will come as no shock, a cheerleader. I don't look like an engineer, but I know I look like a cheerleader. And when I was in college, and I was the only engineer that was a cheerleader. So I was the only one when we traveled on the sidelines doing my problem sets on the side. All my liberal arts majors would get extensions on their papers, right? And so they never had to do any work when we traveled. I had the discipline to do the problem sets, but it pays off because you know what? I know how to get things done, right? Real quickly, before we move on to Lauren for a second, when you first went into Bechtel and you became a civil engineer, did you even know all the opportunities within Bechtel that would be available to you as far as other career paths?
Oh, no, definitely. Bechtel is such a huge company. And so far, I've been with them 3 years and a half, and I've worked in 2 different areas. One is the engineering function, which is design and things like that. And from about 1.5 years, I've been working in estimating, which is more of the project control side. And I love the idea that, like you said, as an engineer, the possibilities are endless. And I hope to be in a project soon, learning more about project control, field engineering, or even the possibility says that you can even go to finance at one point in the construction sector. It's endless, really.
Because when you're smart, you can work anywhere, right? Remember that. When you're smart, you can work anywhere. All right, Lauren, let's talk about you, because Silvana, she kind of came to civil engineering later in her life. You are getting an early start. You knew, so when exactly did you know, like, this is the route I want to go?
Well, ever since I grew up, I always knew I wanted to be an engineer. I would play with Legos, and like my dad also does kind of like building things and creating things, and like he always inspired me. And then when I started to get like around the age of 10, you know, girls are always just like, oh, I love makeup, I want to wear lip gloss, I want to do all this kind of stuff. And I loved makeup ever since I started wearing it. And I always thought, okay, I love building things, I love creating things, but what can I use that with like my creativity of using makeup? And I was kind of looking through it. My mom said to me one day, and she was like, cosmetic chemical engineering. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I was like, I can make makeup. This is amazing. So I guess that's kind of where I started. When I heard it, I took off. I researched everything I could, and that's kind of how I got my inspiration. It kind of just kind of fell in front of me, I guess you could say.
And so what is your path now? Like, what's the route that you've set up ahead for you?
So my route now is I want to go into a chemical engineering program for my bachelor's degree in college, and then I want to go to Manhattan College in New York City, where they have a cosmetic chemical engineering master's degree. So that's my plan right now. And then while I'm in that master's degree, they have internships with, let's think, Revlon, different makeup companies like that. So usually people that are in that program get a job right out. So that's my hope.
Forget Revlon. When's the Lauren Wear line coming out?
Yeah, so that's also another one of my plans. I want to start, after I get into the field, start making makeup for African American women with sensitive skin, and a skincare line and foundation lines with just things that make people feel beautiful, which is also another part of what I want to do. I just love how a girl looks when she tries on a new dress or tries on a new lip gloss and feels beautiful.
You know, and it's important that we're having this, when you think about listening to Lauren talk there, that we're having this here on Capitol Hill, because you think about, you know, products being made and how they're made, and there's such a push now for clean makeup and what all that means with regard to our environment and everything. So now's the time.
Yeah.
So that is good for you. I'm so impressed. All right, Catherine, let's talk about you. So you're interested in cybersecurity, right? Which is so fascinating, right? So my question is, did you always know that that was the discipline you wanted to head toward, or was it something that was introduced to you while you were in college?
I feel like I have a pretty good balance between the two previous panelists. I started thinking about it in high school. Before then, I kind of knew I wanted to do something creative, actually. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to do graphic design. I went to a magnet high school that specialized in the arts. And while I was there, I took a computer science class on a whim. And I just realized that was the perfect way to release my creativity and also help me like solve problems and be able to come up with helpful things. And I chose cybersecurity exactly because I feel like it could have a really positive impact on the world. And it's a really important thing in what's going on today.
It is indeed. Was that something that you knew from the start from your freshman year, or a discipline you chose later?
I definitely chose it totally on a whim. I was like, cybersecurity, that has the word cyber in it, and that sounds awesome. And when I was doing my first internship with Raytheon, I actually had a cybersecurity focused internship, and I realized that I really liked it, and it was very, like, it really exercised my problem solving skills and made me think constantly.
And how much do you think what do you think the importance of that internship was in terms of getting that first job?
The internship was vital. I did 3 total co-ops with Raytheon, and I have accepted a full-time offer there for after I graduate in May, and they've just taught me so much. Like I'd say 50% of what I learned is from my classes at Northeastern, and 50% is on the job. Like, nothing else can give you that experience of being in the workforce and learning how day-to-day life is and how to solve problems like on your feet like that.
Translation, she has a job from now till graduation, she's living large. Whoop! whoop, whoop, right? Okay. Let's talk a little bit with all three of you, because you're in such different ages and such different places, about being a woman in engineering. For you, Silvana, in the workforce, what has the reception been to you being smart, knowing what you're doing, and helping solve problems?
Well, our company is a very open company, very inclusive company, and I haven't had any personal problems, but I did notice like the one difference that when I was in the engineering function, there were a lot more males than females. We're switching that up. Of course, in the project control area that I'm in right now, there's more female, or not more, but at least there's an equal number of females.
You're not the only one.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not the only one. Yes, and previously in the engineering discipline, it was a little more male, but we're fighting to change that up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I applied to Duke a long time ago, one of the easier ways to get into Duke was to apply to the engineering school, because not as many girls applied to the engineering school, right? So they were like, if you applied, your chances were better than getting into Trinity. I currently now serve on the board of the Pratt Board of Visitors for the engineering school at Duke, and for the first time this past year, it was harder to get into the engineering school than it was to get into Trinity at Duke, and they attributed that a lot to so many more women now applying. So, and that's been 25 years that they've seen that change. It's taken some time, but women are getting it, right? And they're going there and they're going for it, and I'm super proud of that. Lauren, for you, so you're in the high school world, right?
Yes.
So that's different than being in the work world.
Definitely.
And there's different pressures that come with being in high school. So how is it being a smart girl in high school?
Well, in my high school environment as a junior, not a lot of people that I know kind of know what they want to do. And when people ask me what I want to do, they're like, you know what you want to do? And I'm like,
They
are
love
you
you and they hate
sure?
you.
They're like, are you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, yes, that is what I want to do. And everybody's like, you'll change your mind. You'll change your major. Everyone's telling you at this time, you'll change what you want to do. And I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. So that's kind of the feedback I get, just like, you're going to change at some point.
Yeah, they say that to make themselves feel better, because they don't know what they want to do, right? Yeah. They're a little bit jealous that you know. I will tell you this to everyone that's in high school here. When I was in high school, you know, people always make fun of the smart kids, right? I mean, they do that. They just do it, right? Except on graduation night. And so then all of a sudden on graduation night, and I will say one of all the things I've done in my life, I went to a very large public high school in Fairfield, Ohio. And I graduated valedictorian of my class. And do you know, all those kids that made fun of me for being smart, every single one of them on graduation night, commencement, were like, congratulations, Holly, that's super cool. And you know what? It was like this quiet respect. And the thing about being smart is they can never take it away from you, right? They can never take it away from you. And you can't fix stupid. So you don't want to be that, right? So I'm just saying, be smart, own it, be proud of it, and it will serve you well. It will serve you well in every aspect of your life. All right, so for you, Catherine, talk about the college world. In your classes, is it pretty much 50-50 girls and boys, or is it?
No, absolutely not. It's definitely women are the minority. When I entered college, I definitely felt very behind everyone else. Women tend to perform as well as men, if not better, in their classes, but we tend to be less secure about it. We have to be absolutely perfect, or else we feel behind. So the best thing I did my freshman year was to just own it and be like, hey, I'm really good at this. I know I belong here. And it kind of I earned my respect through the 5 years that I've been here now.
They need you. That's what you know. That's what you need to tell those.
Yeah,
other
now
people.
they come to
you
me
need
for
me.
help.
Yeah, now they come to you. What would be if someone here was going into college and they felt a little bit overwhelmed that there were so many more guys than them? What would be your advice to them?
I would definitely try to find a mentor. I know at Northeastern, at least, there's lots of TAs and professors that are really willing to sit down and meet with you. I never did that my freshman year. I was terrified of my professors. But one of the best things that I've done is definitely go to their office hours and talk through my issues with them and talk about the homework problems or the environment. And everyone will be absolutely willing to help you. If you have a problem with a classmate or you feel like you're not being respected, they will come through and they will defend you, as they should.
I would say that in life, you know, in most places where you are, there are always resources available to you that you don't take advantage of, or you're embarrassed to take advantage of. And every single time in my life I have ever asked for help on any level, I agree with you. People have always been more than willing to not only be helpful, but that they actually understand. You know, sometimes it's easy to feel like you're alone and you got to be the only one that's dealing with this. That is never the case. There is always somebody out there that is feeling just like you and are relieved when they also find out that there's someone else that understands how they feel. So don't ever just keep it to yourself. For each one of you, is there a person or there was a project or there was something that happened that really helped inspire you?
Well, this might sound a little cliche, but for me it would be my mom. She came here when at least I was 10 years old. She worked her butt off to put us through school, and she's just such an inspiration of like what it truly means to be a hardworking woman and just fighting for her family. And ever since we have been here, she's been a role model for me and my brother. And we continue to seek her example in everything that she does. You know, coming from like a girl without a high school diploma to now being a cosmetologist, fully licensed, and making her way through the world, to the working world. And we're just so proud of her. I think
it may be cliche, but every mother hopes that their child says that, right? Exactly, I'm just saying. Okay, Lauren, what about you?
I kind of agree with you. My mom's kind of just my biggest role model. Just my mother, she started out as an accountant when she originally had me, and then she started helping me through school and everything, and she found out that she was in love with social work. So she worked her way through a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and right now she's in her doctorate program. And I think she's probably the most inspiring person for me, because even though no matter how old you are, you can live through your dreams, and you can, no matter how much school it takes, no matter how much work it takes, she always makes sure that she takes care of me and does everything that she can to make sure that I am successful.
Catherine?
I also love my mom, and she's very supportive. But
you have to say your mom, right? Because everybody else did.
But my first high school Java programming teacher was really the one that encouraged me to go into STEM. Like I said, I went to a magnet school, so kind of drifting away and going into something more in the technology field was a really big move for me. And she's the one that encouraged me and kind of acted as a role model of somebody else in the field and showed me like that I could be successful.
I think for me, when I think back about it, I obviously had an amazingly incredible parents as well. My dad was definitely the one that was more, it was me and my sister, so it was two daughters, but my dad was definitely the one that was like, you girls, I want you to go and be and do whatever, and I'm going to support you. But I think back, and I would implore on you all to clue in on the teachers that really support your intellectual curiosity. I can think back to my Mr. Lapp, my 7th grade science teacher, and Miss Hartley, my 8th grade math teacher, and that early, those were the ones that, you know, those teachers that are really excited to teach you and even more excited when you get it. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that really just help fuel my never-ending desire to want to learn. And I think that that is what always happens with engineering. When I even go back now for my board meetings at the engineering school, they always have professors that present or students that come and talk, and it's the new things that are always happening that you're learning about that you really just can never get enough of, right? And I think that that is such an important part of really being content and happy, because you're going to live a long time and you're going to work a long time, right? And you don't ever just want to get stagnant and get complacent. You want to always continue to be better and do more. At this point, I think maybe, does anybody have any questions out there for our panelists? Anybody want to ask anything in our live audience?
I found it really intriguing, which you mentioned mentors. And I was curious on, you guys are all very successful, are on the path to success of what you're doing. What does mentorship mean to each of you, and also advocates? as opposed to just a role model? Like, what does mentorship? Because I see that a lot of times people don't understand what mentors are, especially when they're younger, because they really haven't gone through the struggles of life, and maybe they don't know the value of it. But I'd like to hear what your perspectives are.
Silvana, you want to start?
Yes. So mentorship, at least to me, and I might not have the right answer, but it's to forge a relationship where you are. There's a sort of learning happening through that relationship. I can think of great mentors that I have at Bechtel, and at different levels of their career. Like, do you have the mentors that are who you aspire to be way in the future, right? And there are the mentors that are even just a little bit above you, and there is this sort of relationship where you learn from each other, and you take care of each other, and you really discuss the problems that make you grow in your career and your personal life. And I really encourage everyone to get to find a mentor or someone that you can talk to that can guide you through the process that you're going right now. Maybe they have lived it. I recommend that you have a mentor that it's only at first a few years ahead of you, so they remember what it's like to go through the steps that you're going right now, and to also find a way to give back to those mentors. It shouldn't be a one-way relationship. It should be a two-way, where you're always also giving them something that they might not have gone through, right? You give them a different perspective about your life, and always take them seriously, always cultivate that relationship.
We're going to take a break from this question for just a second. We're going to definitely get back to it. I want you to take advantage of mentors that come into your life, but I also want to make sure you take advantage of any opportunity that comes your way. And we have an opportunity right now because Congressman Bruce Westerman is here, and he is on limited time. So, sir, we'd like to welcome you to the stage. Thank you very much for taking the time. And we want to know, why in the world is Congress so interested in Girl Day?
Well, we're interested in that. I wouldn't sound right if I said we're just interested in girls, but
let's rephrase that. Yeah,
we're
that'll make the news.
We're interested in engineering, and I'm so thrilled to get to come here and talk to you about girls in engineering. I'm obviously not an expert in girls in engineering, but I am an engineer, so I can tell you a lot about engineering. And I also happen to have a daughter who is a sophomore at the University of Arkansas, majoring in industrial engineering. So I can tell you a little bit about her experience, and she and my communications about her entering the engineering field. And I think she would tell you that until you get there and do it, you really won't understand what it's all about. As much as I tried to tell her about what engineering is and what engineers can do, and she grew up with me working in an engineering job, she still didn't have a real good understanding of what engineering is. And I heard some comments about finding a mentor. That's very important, to find somebody that's in engineering and talk to them about what it is you do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you all know that generally to be an engineer, you need to be good in science and math. You need to be analytical, a problem solver. And that's what I always tell people. I tried to tell my daughter this. An engineer is a glorified problem solver. What they teach you in engineering school is how to solve problems. So I use those same techniques and tools that I learned in engineering school here in Congress. You know, you evaluate the problem. What is it we're really trying to do? You come up with a plan on how do we solve this problem. Then you do as we said in college, the arithmetic. You do the math. You take the tools and the knowledge that you've got and you apply it to the methodology to solve the problem that's been defined, and then you present the answer. That works really well when you're doing engineering work and you're dealing with rational people who like to look at rational answers. The most challenging part in Congress is being able to present that answer and get other people to go along with that answer and realize it's a good idea. My daughter would tell you that she's not in the engineering program she started off in. And I'm thankful at my my university, the University of Arkansas, where I graduated, where she's a student now. They have a program where you get to go your first semester without declaring your major. So you get to visit all the different engineering departments, see what you study in each department, She started off in biomedical engineering, but now she's doing industrial engineering. And as much as I tried to tell her before she went about how engineers get involved in analyzing the cost benefits of projects and those kinds of things, it didn't really sink in until she started observing those classes. There's something for everyone in engineering if you're interested in that field. And the knowledge that you gain, the respect you'll gain by graduating from an engineering program, and I've never met anyone who went through engineering school who said, oh, it was just a cakewalk. It's very hard to do. It seems a lot less painful 30 years in the past than it did when I was going through it. But you will appreciate the way they teach you to solve problems, and you'll find out when you start your first engineering job that I don't really know anything about what I'm doing here, but I've got the tools to learn how to apply them in this specific problem area and make a difference in people's lives and make a difference in society. So, and if you just look at the statistics, now my oldest son, he went to Yale and got a chemical engineering degree, and he didn't really know what he wanted to study before he went to college, but he started reading and he found out that there are more CEOs in America that have chemical engineering degrees than any other degree. I don't know if that's a good reason why to pick what you want to study, but and especially chemical engineering, because it's quite difficult field to go into. But you'll find engineers everywhere. You will find engineers running big companies, small companies. You'll find engineers being innovative and developing new things, new technologies. And an engineering degree prepares you for so much in life. And it gives you the respect and the foundation, and it really equals the playing field as far as advancing. Actually, it probably unequals the playing field, because I think you have an advantage coming out of college with an engineering degree. So I think I've got time for one question, or no questions. My staff is telling me. I'll do one question. This is engineering, come on. If there is a question. Yes, ma'am.
So your kids obviously followed in your footsteps. Is that because you know, instilled in them a love for the field of engineering, or did they kind of discover it on their own? And if they did discover it on their own, how did that come about? Like, what was the process?
Yeah, I think it was a combination. And so I was the second person in my family ever to go to college. My older brother was the first person. So I was obviously the first person in my family to, my older brother went into education, I went into engineering. So I think they saw the benefits it had in my life and the doors it opened up for me. And plus they heard about it a lot. You know, you get made fun of being a nerd and all that, even by your kids, but that's okay. Do you know what you call an engineer 10 years after graduation? Boss.
That's right.
So, and there's so much emphasis on engineering and the sciences now. You know, when I was in high school, there wasn't a lot of, you never really heard the word STEM, even though, I mean, it was out there, it wasn't focused on nearly as much. There were hardly any girls in the engineering college when I went through engineering school. I think I hope I get this correct. I think at the University of Arkansas, it's about 50-50 right now, females versus males. So there's tremendous opportunities for young ladies and young men in engineering. And if that's, you know, I say the thing you really need to be doing in life is what you want to do, what excites you and motivates you. But if you're at all interested in science and math and solving problems, you can't beat an engineering degree. And before I get drug out by my staff, I'm going to say thank you for giving me a few minutes.
Thank you.
And thank you for having a forum about girls in engineering. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. I think he said it's hard to find rational people in Congress. I think I heard that. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what? I did hear him say that when you're an engineer, you get automatic respect. And that is so true. So many times I tell people I work in the news, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And then I'm like, you know, but I'm an engineer. And then they're like, oh. Right? That just takes it to another level. It's like being smart. No one can ever take it away from you. Once you're an engineer, and that's it. And people understand what that means to be. And if they don't understand it, then don't hang with them. They need to understand. Real quickly, let's get back to our mentor question that we were talking about. So Lauren, you go ahead and talk about that.
So I feel that a mentor is kind of someone, as you said, that's in your same field, that kind of understands kind of what you're going through. So I don't really have a mentor right now because my field is so, I don't know, specific, I guess you could say. But I am excited when going into college to find me a mentor that's also in chemical engineering, just so then I can have someone that I can look up to that's similar to me. And then also just as going in the field, I'm planning on also wanting to be a mentor to other girls.
You know, your mentor might change over time too, depending on where you are and what you're doing. And but both of them reference the importance of paying it forward, right? None of us, wherever we are along our path right now, got to where we were without someone helping us. And so it's always so important to be able to give back and help when you can. So I would definitely recommend that.
You mentioned advocacy, and I think that's something that's really important in a mentor. My best mentors have believed in me when I first met them more than I believed in myself at the time. They've always pushed me out of my comfort zone. They've encouraged me to apply to jobs that I didn't think I was qualified for, or talk to people that I thought wouldn't even give me the time of day. And that's just been incredibly helpful, of course, for my career and my confidence personally. And of course, as a teaching assistant, I try to pass it on to younger girls, like freshmen at Northeastern, to try to mentor them and help give them the sort of advantage that I had coming in.
And I think that's important once you get into the work world as well, that there is a difference sometimes between someone being your mentor and someone being an advocate for you, right? Because not everyone is willing to go to bat for you. And you need to understand and identify who those people are. Not only will they go to bat for you, but they've got your back. And sometimes I almost think having a strong advocate might even be more important than having that mentor. Mentors are awesome and they're great, and they're people that understand where you've been, and they can have those private one-on-one conversations with you. But when you're in it, and you need to know who's going to be right there beside you, standing up next to you, and it's important to have a strong advocate. Anybody else have questions?
So all of you have talked about the strong family support. What would you say to parents or other adult advocates who might say engineering's not for women?
They're wrong.
I would say if you believe that women in engineering is wrong, I completely disagree. But I think just going in and researching women in engineering field, even though there aren't that many big engineers in the field, just look into it. Look at women that have gone through the program and see how much they've success in the field. And that's what I would say to them.
As far as like family members telling you that, because that's usually the hardest for any student, right? First, I will say try to understand where they're coming from. My dad is one of the most loving persons in my life. However, he always have thought that the best field for me would have been medicine, because in Peru, growing up, a female doctor is very well seen, not so much as an engineer. So first is understanding that any advice that they give, it's out of love, and second, just being self-aware, knowing that what is it that you did, that if something is the path that you want, just go after it and keep fighting for it, regardless of like what other people around you say. Take it as it is, as a words of love, but that you are the one who's going to choose your path and do the steps to get there.
I would say to parents that don't think women can be in engineering, they should watch the movie Hidden Figures. Women like Grace Hopper, Margaret Hamilton, Ada Lovelace, they've all contributed so much to where modern day computing is today. And it's because of like their diversity and their different experiences than men. And like what makes us different is what makes strong teams and makes us be able to produce things when we work together.
I agree with Silvana. Sometimes parents might be reticent just because they're afraid. It's unknown, they don't understand, and it is about helping to understand where they're coming from, and then you helping to explain. That can be one of the first problems you solve, and helping your parents understand that that's the path that you want to take. So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you to our wonderful panel. That was so great. To everybody that asked such wonderful, wonderful questions. I appreciate you all being here and taking the time, and I look forward to all the future success that you guys are going to have as engineers. I know sometimes, I do the news every day. Sometimes I don't think the future looks so bright. But when I look out upon your faces, I know that the future is in good hands. And I will leave you with this. James A. Michener, author, said once, you know what, scientists dream of doing good, engineers do. So I anticipate you all will do just that. Thank you.